Hey everybody, welcome back to 90 and Out. I'm your host Timothy Holt, and this channel is all about the Christian Bible. Right now we're doing part 3 of a 3-part series covering the Sermon on the Plain, delivered by Jesus of Nazareth, circa 27 AD. Thank you everyone for joining me and watching this video. If you'd like, please share it with anyone you want. Leave me a comment. Snide remarks are accepted. Just make it pleasant. Also, if you think I'm just blowing smoke, let me know that. If you like what's being said, let me know and I'll make more of this content. So help the channel grow, share, like, and subscribe. Part 3 of the Sermon on the Plain is covering the conclusion to this epic speech delivered by Jesus of Nazareth. And in this conclusion, we see Jesus use a series of word pictures, play on words, to great effect, illustrating what we talked about in the previous video, loving our enemies. So, you can find this recorded by Luke in his chapter 6. Can the blind lead the blind? Will they not both fall into a ditch? A disciple is not above his teacher, but everyone who is perfectly trained will be like his teacher. And why do you look at the speck in your brother's eye, but do not perceive the plank in your own eye? Or how can you say to your brother, "Brother, let me remove the speck from your eye," when you yourself do not see the plank that is in your own eye? Hypocrite! First remove the plank from your own eye, and then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye. Now, as we can see, a pretty good contrast between the Sermon on the Mount, found in Matthew, and the Sermon on the Plain is the direction of the language. In the Sermon on the Mount, Matthew records most of the statements being generic, plain statements, where Luke has a lot of you statements recorded in the Sermon on the Plain. There's a direct connection with the audience. Jesus is saying, you. He makes a series of you statements. Blessed are you who are poor. Blessed are you who are hungry. Woe to you who are rich. In this case, having a splinter in your eye and not being able to notice, but you're going to try helping your brother out with his splinter and taking it out of his eye. With these you statements, Jesus quantifies what he is portraying and teaching and what his disciples are going to do. Perfectly trained. Can a disciple be above his teacher? No. When does the student become the teacher? It's when the student surpasses the teacher. And the only time we see students surpass their teachers is when that student goes outside of the teaching in some way. So, for example, 2nd grade. If you never move beyond your 2nd grade teacher, you're going to stay at the 2nd grade. You've got to move on. And a good teacher encourages their students to move beyond their teaching and to make it their own. So these rhetorical questions are in here. Now, there's 2 more areas here to the speech. The next one is talking about a tree. Now keep in mind, as we discussed in the part 2, loving your enemies, there's that phrase, don't judge, that comes up. Well, this tree and fruit series of sentences, word picture, tells us what he's talking about there. Illustrates it. For a good tree does not bear bad fruit, nor does a bad tree bear good fruit, for every tree is known by its fruit. For men do not gather figs and thorns, nor do they gather grapes from bramble bushes. A good man out of the good treasure of his heart brings forth good fruit, and an evil man out of the evil treasure of his heart will bring forth evil. For out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So why earlier in this speech did Jesus say don't judge? Well, if we hold that in context, it's don't judge, for by what you're judging, you're also going to be judged. And it's insinuated you're going to be found guilty. Because good men produce good fruit, bad men produce bad fruit. We're going to be judged by our actions. And who we are at our heart is going to determine what those actions are. So the last section here in the speech, his closing statements, if you will, the bring it all to full circle, is this story about two builders. But why do you call me Lord, Lord, and do not the things I say? Whoever comes to me and hears my sayings and does them, I will show you whom he is like. He is like a man building a house, who dug deep and laid the foundation on the rock. And when the floods rose and the stream beat vehemently against that house, and could not shake it, for it was founded on the rock. But he who heard and did nothing is like a man who built his house on the earth without a foundation, against which the stream beat vehemently, and immediately it fell. And the ruin of that house was great. That's the closing statement of this speech. And we've got trees known by its fruit. We've got the disciple and the teacher. We've got the splinter in the eye and the huge beam. When I read that, by the way, the splinter and the beam, I get this picture of a little tiny sliver barely there, and the one who wants to take it out has this like giant 2x4 sticking out of his face. That might just be me finding it comical, but that's how I interpret that. The builder is pretty simple too. All of these come back to the loving your enemies. If we truly follow that golden rule that Jesus is propagating here of doing unto others as we want them to do unto us, notice that's not do unto others as they actually do to us. It's how we want them to treat us. If we love our enemies, that has to extend to our enemies. That has to extend to those who try to destroy us. It has to extend to those we disagree with. If we're talking politics, it has to extend to those people who outright lie about us just so they can get reelected. It has to extend to everyone. It has to do with that guy at work or that gal at work that you can't get along with for some reason. It has to extend to that teacher in school that just drives you nuts. And you constantly seem like you're button heads. Because that golden rule that Jesus is pointing out, he's taking it to its logical extreme. If we do unto others as we want them to do unto us, if we love our neighbors as ourselves, it also has to extend to those people we disagree with. It has to extend to those people that we don't like. Or as I covered in the second part of this video, this series, the body, our enemies, those who spitefully use us, those who actively harm us. Not talking about microaggressions here. We're not talking about, oh, you insinuated. No, we're talking about actual harm and damage. Then we're told to go above that and love them anyway. Do good to them. Because a good tree bears forth good fruit. A bad tree bears forth bad fruit. Out of the abundance of our heart, the mouth speaks and the body acts. So he's saying point blank here, hey, if you want to be one of my disciples, if you want to follow me, you're going to have to do what I tell you to do. And the bar is set pretty high. I mean, I'm not sure how many other great teachers throughout history said, hey, if you're going to follow me, you're going to have to lay down your life. People are going to try to kill you. People are going to actually kill you. And people are going to try to make your life a living hell. But hey, follow me anyway. Because if you follow me, I offer you eternal life. That's what Jesus is saying in the entire speech, from start to finish. Blessed are the poor, because they will be rich. Blessed are the hungry. You, right now, watching, you might be hungry. You're blessed according to Jesus. You're blessed, because one day you're going to be filled. You're not going to be hungry anymore. But he doesn't stop with the blessings. He starts with them. He starts with the blessings. And he ends with, the stream beat vehemently, and immediately it fell. And the ruin of that house was great. Think about it. If you don't have a firm foundation in your life, you can build a beautiful life, a gorgeous life, wonderful life, with all the trimmings, the brand new Bentleys, the house on the hill that's a mansion that everybody gawks at. You can have the perfect trophy wife, or the perfect bodybuilder husband, or whatever. You can have this pristine life. But when the storms of life come in and hit you, if you don't have a solid foundation, the ruin of your life is going to be great. It's going to be devastating. Because in life, there's always ups. There's always downs. There's always times of plenty where you're full and everything seems to be going well. And then there's times where it seems like all hell broke loose on you. And Jesus is saying in this speech, in those times, in all times of life, love your enemies, love those who you disagree with, be compassionate, be generous beyond measure, and have a firm foundation. So in closing, I'm going to close this with the words of Jesus. I will show you whom he is like. He is like a man building a house who dug deep and laid the foundation on the rock. And when the floods arose, the stream beat vehemently against it and could not shake it, for it was founded on the rock. But he who hears and did nothing is like a man who built a house on the earth without a foundation, against which the stream beat vehemently, and immediately it fell. And the ruin of that house was great. You have a choice watching this video. You can either take it to heart, or you can throw it away. Choice is yours. So, yeah, that's my son, by the way. Just want to point that out.